Was a girl running in our group. She had a high-speed motor in a 40 Ford coupe. She had a racing cam and a Super George. Look at Buddy, hot rod and large. She's a hot rod. She's a hot rod.
Volvo has issued the largest recall in their company history for a seatbelt issue. What is with the safety devices crapping out on us here? What is going on here? These front seat belts on 2.18 million vehicles globally, about 300,000 here in the U.S., which is probably all they sold in the U.S., 2006 to 2019. This goes back 14 years. These seat belts are no good. They don't hold. They're terrible. They're absolutely terrible. If you got a Volvo, you better get to the Volvo dealer and get that taken care of. Because the seatbelts are supposed to save lives. Okay? And here is an investigation. Oh, finally. We have probably fixed a dozen of these in my shop over the time here. About 600,000 Cobalt and HHR Chevys. Those are Chevrolets. 2008 to 2010. The fuel leak lines in the rear leak. Now, Chevy's had a kit for this for 2 years because that's what you do. When he comes in with one of these leaks, I call the Chevy dealer, they send me over a kit, and I repair it. But now, come on, it's a safety issue. It's a stinking fuel leak in the exhaust area. Come on. Well, remember when Chevy was on strike? You couldn't get these. I had a customer whose car sat for a month waiting for fuel lines because they got to be a certain way, they got to be a certain make. You can't make your own. You can't fudge it. It's got to be right. You can't make it happen. You have to wait for the lines, and they were on strike and couldn't get any more. I even tried to bribe a dealer in Gary to sell me one. He said, George, if I sell you one, my shop will never speak to me again because we only got one left, and we have to fix our customers' cars. And I agree, so I let him go. But that car sat in my yard for a month. Yeah. Well, hey, Chevy has their problems. They're like everybody else. John Mooney, I asked you if you thought about John Mooney. Well, John Mooney not single-handedly, he had a team, but he was the man credited with the big breakthrough that made probably the single most innovative invention for automotive of the century. The thing that changed automobiles for good. I mean, for good. Both ways for good. Forever and for good. He added at least $1,000 to the price of your car. Some cars, that's more like $2,000. He was from Wickford, New Jersey. He died at 90 years old in Wickford at home. He worked for a supplier called Engelhard. He is credited as being the Holy Grail, the father of the catalytic converter. Yes. The Society of Automotive Engineers considers it among the top inventions since the dawn of the automobile. The EPA says it has saved thousands of lives, prevented hundreds of thousands of throat and lung ailments. In California, it is responsible for abating much of the yellow air. Have you ever been to California, the land of fruits and nuts? The air has a yellow tint to it. Yes, it does. This was first studied in the 50s, that air, because it stunk so bad out there. It's a stinky state. Of course, it's going to fall in the ocean anyway. The modern catalytic converter, which scrubs smog and soot-producing hydrocarbons and carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxides from automobile exhaust, has revolutionized air pollution controls with its invention in the 70s. 1974 was the first one of those I saw. 1974, I was working for Chrysler. And we got our first one in with a big old can underneath it. What the heck is that? It was the brainchild of two chemical engineers, John Mooney and his boss, Carl Keith, as well as a small team of colleagues in Engelhart Corporation. Mooney, who died June 16th at his home at 90 years old in Wyckoff, New Jersey, is credited with the big breakthrough. So John Mooney, he cleaned up our air, but he cost us a fortune. And even now, that's all they steal. When they steal a car now, they don't even want to steal your car. They want to get underneath and cut the catalytic converter off for the goodies inside, the palladium and the rhodium and Yeah. Every chemical known to man, not plutonium though. I always used to say that years ago. My buddy the preacher just told me I was nuts because plutonium explodes. You can't get it hot. I don't know. The VW diesel scandal executive in jail here may go home to Germany to serve out his term because they want to throw a few years at him too. Oliver Schmidt, former VW engineer, was sentenced to 7 years in prison here. May get out 2 years early to be sent home to his home country, Germany, to face charges there. He was originally arrested January 2017 in Florida, and he was fined $400,000 for stinking up our air with his diesels. Well, hey, he got away with it for a while, though, didn't he? Yeah, I hear you. Ex-UAW president, this is another story that goes on forever. The airbag stories go on forever. This UAW thing goes on forever. Ex-UAW President Dennis Williams has returned $55,000 in travel expenses to the union following an internal review of expenditures. In other words, he stole it. In a Monday statement to members, President Rory Gamble, who, by the way, is also under investigation, said the expenses were found to have been not appropriate, but he did not detail where they came from. As I said from day one, we are committed to recovering any and all dues funds that have been misappropriately spent. This is what Rory Gamble said. The update comes a day before Gamble is set to meet with U.S. Attorney Matthew Snyder to discuss reform efforts. And that leads me right into my next big story, the reform efforts. Because they did meet this week. And they went together, and the UAW and the UAW is trying to save the union. They're trying to keep the government from taking over, because the government has already said, you get your act together and get your stuff, your nose clean, or we're going to take over the union. They took over the Teamsters for a while, thanks to Hoffa, I guess. Well, there's a lot of embezzlement going on these days. Detroit. UAW President Rory Gamble, U.S. Attorney Matthew Snyder met in a nearly 2-hour meeting Tuesday, discussed the possibility of an independent monitor to ensure progress on reform efforts aimed at rooting out corruption. So there's no saying we have no corruption in the union. They have corruption. The unusual gathering amid the backdrop of ongoing federal corruption probe made as Gamble tries to prove the union can clean itself up from within, even as Snyder calls for a more meaningful changes. The two sides, according to a joint release, discussed the prospect of altering long-standing UAW procedures to implement direct election of officers, a move Snyder has publicly advocated for. Gamble also laid out steps the union has taken in recent months to add more stringent controls over spending and other financial matters. Yes, you have to. The problem there is the UAW, those guys spent millions on stuff, and nobody knows where it went. They found out where it went, but I mean, they just, we were buying stuff. They were buying stuff, all right. Lots of stuff. Ford is making the news here again, but you know what? It's good stuff, actually. Ford has decided, speaking of Facebook, no Facebook or Instagram advertising for all of July. They have suspended their social media advertising for 30 days. I don't know if that's a cost-saving thing or if I don't know what that's supposed to mean. So I imagine it's just a cost thing, because I don't think there's anything dark and mysterious there. Do you? I don't get it if there is. Also, Ford. Now this is nice. Ford says buyers of new cars who have lost their job within a year of purchasing their new vehicle may be eligible to return that car back to the automaker. Ford announced the program Monday. The program applies to 2019 and 20 and 21 model year vehicles purchased or leased from Ford Credit through September 30th. No, December 30th. No, September 30th. Okay. If the new buyer loses his or her job, Ford says the vehicle will be valued along the National Automobile Dealers Association average trade-in price, and that amount will be applied to the balance of the loan. Ford says then it will waive up to $15,000 above that amount, and the buyer would be responsible for the remainder account. So if you're buried in your car, I don't think you're going to get out of it too easy. It's not a way to get out of it, but it's a way to take care of people that didn't know they were going to lose their job and did. And I think that's pretty cool of Ford to do that. I really do. I think Ford is stepping up to the plate, and I'm glad. All right, Toyota. You know what? We're going around the car world here now. In case you didn't notice, that's what we're doing right now. 928 Car Guys, if you need to speak to me, anytime you want, just give me a call. But I got to tell you, as we drive around the car world, you are just amazed at who is sleeping with who. This is like a Peyton place of the car world right now. Everybody is, this guy's buying this guy, and this guy's merging with this guy, and this person is hiring these people to do this. It's unbelievable. People you would have never thought. Here's one I can understand. Toyota holds a $293 million stake in Uber. I bet they're not happy about that right now. Uber's stock is in the toilet. Well, they haven't had a pandemic here. You can't get in the car. Now it's lightening up a little bit in a lot of states. In its latest corporate governance report, the automaker said it has reduced its shareholdings to 24 companies and increased them in 10 more, including 2 listed companies, 2 big ones. Toyota Motor Corporation holds $293 million stake in Uber Technologies as it partners with the ride-hailing company to further expand into new mobility services. Toyota's latest corporate governance report released on Wednesday showed that. So Toyota's in bed with Uber. Now, who's Uber in bed with? I mean, this gets better. I mean, I told you it's a Peyton place. Uber is now in talks to buy delivery rival Postmates. Uber and they're actually in competition, but Postmates was not so much as a ride sharing as it was a delivery. But Uber Eats is a delivery, okay? Uber Technologies Inc. is in talks to purchase Postmates Inc. This is what they said, a person familiar with the discussion, seeking to expand the food delivery services in the U.S. Postmates is pretty big. They've been around a long time. Here we go. The New York Times reported earlier Monday that Uber had made an offer to acquire Postmates. Shares of Uber were up 3.5%. Trading to $30.67 in the Tuesday morning. And Uber's right now they're in trouble. I mean they're moving. They're moving and shaking. Founded in 2011, Postmates was one of the first to let customers in the U.S. order meal delivery with using a smartphone app. However, competition has grown, of course, intense in the recent years, and Postmates is now a distant fourth. But they were the first. And they're valued at somewhere around $2.4 billion, that company. So, but Uber's going to bed with them.
So, in my language, you're talking about Toyota, the wife, is with the husband, Uber, and they're having a conflict, correct? And Uber, with the side piece, which is Postmates, are having a little thing together, huh?
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
I told you this was Peyton Place, Eric.
I got it.
I told you it was Peyton Place. Eric caught up on it right away. Oh, my God. Who's doing what the who and how much? Yow. This kills me. Tesla Inc. Why do I got to say Inc. all the time? Tesla, on Wednesday, became the highest valued automaker as its shares surged to record highs, and the electric car maker's market capitalization overtook that of former frontrunner Toyota Motors Corporation. It doesn't say Inc. after that. Tesla shares gained 3.7% to close at $1,119.63 after earlier reaching as much as $1,135. Tesla is now worth more than triple the combined value of U.S. automakers General Motors and Ford together. The combined value. They got a lot of investors. They put a lot of money. Everybody's investing heavily in the electronics future. But after several years of losses, Tesla has delivered 3 straight profitable quarters since the third quarter of 2019 and surprised investors with solid first quarter deliveries despite the virus outbreak. I'd like to know if they did anything as far as stockholder shares getting a little bonus or something. Did they give him some? Did Elon give him any money back, or is this all money that he's been using for his secret investments that he does? Yeah. Well, we'll see. And speaking of Tesla, executives from Tesla are going to use the unassuming job type description in their pitch to the Texas County on the merits of the car maker's Cybertruck project. Now, Georgia is still in the running for this, if I'm not mistaken, but they're really trying to get Travis County, Texas. The factory would bring 5,000 middle-skill jobs to Travis County, according to the presentation Tesla officials are going to deliver at this online meeting on Tuesday. The pitch is an early indication of how companies may tout economic development projects to localities that have sustained significant job losses following the coronavirus outbreak, of course. The unemployment rate for Travis County is home to Texas's capital city of Austin, soared to 12.4%, God, in April from 2.2% a year earlier, according to Federal Reserve data Tesla cites in its presentation. Well, we were on a roll. Country was on a roll. Our unemployment was down to nothing. Tesla envisions spending $1 billion on the facility, which will span as much as 5 million square feet of space once it's constructed. Holy cow! The average annual salary of permanent employees at this proposed project plant would be $47,147 a year. Tesla could be the source of reemployment for many, the company says in its presentations. Many middle-skill workers may lose their existing jobs on a permanent basis. Yeah, you know what? That's nice. I'm glad they're trying to sell. I know they're still looking at Georgia too. So whoever gives them the most tax abatements, and it's bribery is all this is. I mean, it's out and out bribery. But why not? We're going to bring this plant. We're going to hire 5,000 of your people. You take your unemployment rate and cut it in half. I mean, come on. Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want to give up something to get that? You get your people working, your tax base comes back. If you got to give up some real estate taxes for a few years, you do. You got to lower some other taxes for a few years, you do. But to get your people working and get your tax base back, that's the way to do it. And I don't care how much bribery you want. I suppose I would probably do it. I'm just one of those guys.